when darkness falls and evil rules the land. It's time to rock.
Hello, welcome to the Damian and Devlin show, and this is our review for Suck, a 2009 film directed by Rob Stefaniak, also starring Rob Stefaniak, Jessica Perry, and Malcolm McDowell, plus a lot of other people, including some real music legends like Alice Cooper and Iggy Pop and Henry Rollins, and just so many. Carol Pope. I couldn't believe some of the people I saw in this. This is a Canadian film that was released, as I said, in 2009, and we were recommended to it because this is our final in our fan appreciation, at least of this year. I have a feeling we're going to probably do it again.
Yeah,
because
probably.
It's been a lot of fun. And this was offered to us by one of our fans, Stephanie. Thank you for that, and thank you for constantly tuning in and commenting as well. And I would personally say that we kind of ended on a high note.
Absolutely, I would totally agree.
Yeah, the movie's not perfect, but it's pretty great. And a couple people have actually told me about this movie, and I've always kind of put it aside, so I'm finally I got to see it, and I'm really glad I did, so I apologize for all those people who recommended it and I never got around to it. But Stephanie, this was a great one to wrap things up with. And yeah, basically it's about a rock and roll band who's having troubles making it. One of their band members gets bitten by a vampire, and let's just say it starts rippling effect through the group, and the group starts finding success, and boy, that's basically the key elements. But there's a lot of great references to horror movies, especially Dracula, and like the old to the new one done by Francis Ford Coppola, and wonderful music references all through this. Not only the guest stars in this, but there's moments where they actually bring album covers to life and stuff. And so a really great thing. And it's a Canadian film, which is very proud, because a really wonderful job. What are your first take on Suck?
Honestly, I didn't know what to expect of it. I know Stephanie, she'd actually talked to me a little bit about it, told me it's very similar to another movie that we've reviewed before, American Satan. However, I would say there's a big difference between American Satan as well, between that and Suck, and the fact that American Satan was down here, whereas I kind of hold Suck as to being up here. Suck was actually pretty good. It didn't suck. And that's actually one of my positives with regards to this movie, is the fact that they actually threw the name of the movie in there in such creative ways at times, even referring to the fact that their songs suck, or saying something along the lines of that sucked and things like that, we don't suck, so on and so forth. I really, really did enjoy the movie, and I'll talk about my positives here in a second, but I think it really did a great job of not only representing that, you know, Canadian films can be good, they can be entertaining, because I've seen a lot of Canadian productions, TV shows, movies, and not all of them are quality. I have a big problem with Canadian media for the most part, and I feel that Suck does not fall into that category. It is quality, it's good, it's funny, it's entertaining, and I really did enjoy the ride.
Excellent. So why don't you get right into your positives, since there's going to probably be a lot more than negatives.
I was hoping that'd be a segue into your positives.
Oh, I can do it.
No. By all means, let me take center stage, because that's what audiences tune in for. They want to hear what I have to say.
There you go. That's why I was giving it to you.
So this movie, I already touched on it. I like the clever ways that they threw the name of the movie in there. It felt, honestly, kind of in this day and age, the slang that I'm going to use, it felt like the movie was trolling us at times. And not in a bad way. I knew that it was a black comedy almost immediately from the very beginning of the movie, and I felt it handled it so very well. It was kind of aware of itself, and it made fun of itself as it went along, but not in an overly obnoxious way. I liked the characters. In fact, the lead character, played by Rob Stefaniak, who I didn't think I liked at the beginning, but I found him a very interesting character, and he had depth to it, man. I liked that fact about the character. I liked a lot of the other characters. A special shout out to the French Canadian actor that plays a character named Hugo. I thought he was hilarious in this movie.
I can't remember his name, but
he was
something Rats,
great.
Charlie Rats, or Chris Rats. I think it's
Something
Chris
like
Rats.
that.
Yeah.
And he was fantastic in this movie. He's so funny, and he just pop up in the background every so often because that's exactly it. The characters in the movie would forget about him, and he'd pop up, what about Hugo? And things like that. And that's what you as an audience member are thinking, oh yeah, there's Hugo too. So it was just really funny. Some of my favorite things, when the band is actually traveling, it's like a stop motion kind of thing with their little hearse car. And I thought that was so creative and so clever. It really, really, really worked awesome. As well, I'm going to be a little bit selfish here, as well as a little bit facetious. I can't speak today. I'm still coming off the high I had from this movie, so bear with me. But the actress that played Jennifer in the movie,
Jessica Perry.
woo, 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 mwah. If she's Canadian, mwah, mwah, I'm going to come find you and ask you out because you're so beautiful. There's even a character in the movie that goes, so beautiful. I felt like that character. She was hot, she was rocking it, and I loved it. Little known fact about me, I used to be obsessed with vampires around the time that this movie came out. And I feel like this movie is definitely a product of its time because that was during the Twilight phase. Pretty much everybody was into vampires back then, and it definitely reeked of the late 2000s with the hairstyles, the clothing styles. So it fit in, and I like that as well. And it was really funny. I didn't expect it to be so funny, and I found myself almost dying of laughter at times. Special shout out, my favorite scene from the entire movie is the border crossing. I'm not going to say what happens because I want you guys to experience it for yourself, but the whole border crossing sequence, oh my gosh, so funny. Go watch it. You need to watch it. So I have a lot to say. I like the script. It was easy. I love the pop culture references. I actually got a couple of them. Not all of them. Devlin here was thankful, or I'm thankful of Devlin that he filled in the gaps, but most of them I got, and I thought they were very, very clever and well done.
My positives?
Sure, if you want to. I mean, we don't have to.
I apologize to getting his name always wrong. Rob Stefaniak?
Stefaniak. I think.
Anyhow, I don't know this guy at all, and I want to say his directing is really good. I would actually like to look out for other movies to see if he actually directed. He did an amazing job, and for a first time, I don't know if this was a first time. The only reason I said it was the first time is because I think they did the old Canada grant at the end, so I always assume you have to be like a fairly first-time director. Anyhow, I'd like to look up more of his stuff, because as a director, I thought he was really good. I do think the script was really good for the most part. I'll talk a little bit about some of my negatives, but I thought it was funny. I thought it was very clever, and it was really, really awesome. But I did have some issues with it, and a really big issue. But we'll get to that. The soundtrack I thought was amazing. I'm going to be looking up some of the songs. I really liked a lot of the music in this, and I think some of the musical numbers were handled well. You can tell this director knew horror because he was bringing up lots of vampire references. Like, I'd look at things and I go, oh, that's from that movie, that's from that. You could tell he was a fan of music videos because there's a couple of times they show musical sequences that looked like they could have been really bad, cheesy music videos, but it worked in this movie. And also he definitely knew rock in general because there were like beautiful moments where like they just cut into scenes using like classic album covers, as in they'd recreate classic album covers, and that was really neat to see. I've never seen a movie do that. I did like the slow motion animation, like Damian mentioned. I also like their little, when they were showing with them touring, they'd use little black bloodlets and they were playing with it. Really it got more and more intense. I did find it very funny. I think they nailed not everything, but a good chunk of the jokes they were going for. There was a couple times that it seemed a little forced, but overall I think they nailed more than, more mainstream movies have tried.
Yeah.
And I think this had a funnier script.
Yeah, I would agree. And most times with movies, I'll get a that was kind of clever.
Yeah, he had a couple outright chuckles.
Oh, but there were some moments where, like I said, I was literally dying laughing. Like, I haven't laughed that hard since, like, Airplane, basically. It was that funny at points. So definitely agree with you on that.
All right, your negatives.
Okay, first of all, I gotta say, Moby. Like I hate that guy so much. That guy. I hate the fact that he's in this movie. I don't care. I cannot stand that guy. The fact that you were like, oh, is that Moby? And I'm like, don't tell me that's Moby. Don't say that that's Moby. Damn review and video, and I hate that guy.
For everybody who watched the Beach review, you could know he went on about Moby, and he's only in like a soundtrack song. When I actually saw him, I think that's Moby, and you're like, what? What? It almost like took him out, and then we didn't. I said, no, he might just be some bald guy from Canada. And then at the end, when Moby's name came up, I wish we could have recorded that. That was awesome.
Oh,
Moby's out there. Come on to the show.
No, don't you touch my show. Don't even look at it. I don't even care. I hate you. I hate you. So Moby, he takes a point away. And I disagree with
full point?
A full point for Moby.
Okay.
I disagree with you. I think some of the songs were a little boring. I kind of agreed with Henry Rollins' character at one point, saying that their single sucks. I kind of agree with that. I can see the appeal of the band, and I totally get it for storyline purposes, but this is not a band that I think would make it big anywhere. So I totally believe the beginning of the movie more than anything, but of course we get that whole, similar to American Satan, deal with the devil sort of appeal going on, so I get it, but I don't like most of the songs. I like some of the remix songs, like the cover songs that were playing in the background there. I thought those were really neat, but again, not all of them, so that's a negative for me. Some of the jokes, I agree with you fully. Felt a little forced. I felt like, oh, this is where I'm supposed to laugh. But I didn't find it funny. So again, some of them felt a little bit flat. Not a big deal. But it didn't really work all that well. And you know what? I don't really have much else to say about it. But fuck Moby.
Okay. Yeah, I do have some things to say about it. And I'm going to start, since I praised him so much as a director, Rob Stefaniak, I would have loved to see what you did with this if you actually had a lead actor in this. I understand you want to make a movie and you want to star in it, but I really think that you really didn't have that. Like, I didn't ever fall for him, and I didn't think there was layers of depth from him. I think we've seen it better in other actors, and I wish he was concentrating more on the movie.
I'll give it that.
You know, and there's nothing wrong with him. He's an okay actor, but I just think when you're the lead of a group, and you're also the one that they're following, you need to have a charisma about you, and I didn't think. And it hurt the romance in this, because I didn't feel there was one.
You know what, I kind of agree with you. They hinted at a romance, but it was always kind of like there in the background. And then when it kind of came full front, I agree, yeah, it didn't really, feel natural. It felt not really there, because I guess I would agree with you. Rob Stefaniak's character had not a lot of charisma. And maybe it's because he was trying to be dry, because it's a dry movie and it's very aware of itself. But I completely agree with that.
But I think there's other actors that can be dry and still have a charisma about them.
You're right.
Like a Michael Cera kind of thing.
Oh, don't even get me started on Michael Cera.
Oh, here we go.
You heard me go about Moby. Don't bring up that.
All right. So, and I also felt that the charisma that he has, I didn't understand why the band would stay together for so long. Because the actors in the band were all pretty good. But I felt even if this guy was, trying I didn't feel that there was a connection with the band, and I think he was the weakest link in it. So never did I feel, why are they following him?
It's true. Yeah.
So a big problem there. But remember, I praised you as a director, and I'm looking out for other stuff that you did, because I really like that. Other things, Malcolm McDowell, I really like him. I felt he was wasted in this movie. He just walks around and never does anything. And when he finally does something, it's great to see him there. But I just feel you got Malcolm McDowell. I don't know how, I don't know if you got a grant for this movie, but you got Malcolm McDowell. How do you get Malcolm McDowell? Use him. Use him. You know, when I'm coming out of a movie and thinking Alice Cooper did a better job than Malcolm McDowell, and I don't think Malcolm McDowell did a bad job. I just use him. You know, I understand. I would like to see more of Henry Rollins, but I understood he was just a bit character. And that wig, I couldn't have watched him in that wig for ages. But I won't put that as a negative.
I don't think actually Alice Cooper. I made a comment about this in the video. I don't think Alice Cooper was wearing makeup. To be quite honest,
I don't think it was acting. I think this was Alice Cooper. Actually, no, I'm going to say that because I always liked Alice Cooper and stuff, and I still do. But when I always hear that Alice Cooper likes to go golfing, it kind of kills my whole presence of him. So I'm going to say he was acting and give him the benefit of the doubt. Okay, so my big problem with the movie, and
I'm curious to know what
this is a big problem with the movie.
Stephanie, cover your ears. You might not want to hear this.
No, it's not too bad. Damian was laughing out loud, and I wasn't. But that doesn't mean that I wasn't laughing on the inside, because a lot of times I'll watch very funny movies, but not out loud laugh. And I enjoyed this movie. In fact, I would say this movie was running really high with me. And they were doing things that I'm like, awesome, that's a great thing. As soon as they get famous, the third act of this movie totally falls apart. When they decide to come up with a clever, convenient way to wrap things up, the movie just suddenly loses momentum. They set themselves up in this huge light. I'm putting it up in cult status. And I'm not saying I'm not giving it a high mark when I do, but I was up there. Come on, I liked the music. I liked so much of it. I'd even have let the lead actor pass. But the movie unraveled, and suddenly it's like I didn't understand why. I can't give away the ending, but I don't understand that after they found what they were finally looking for, they decide to take an easy out on this movie, and I found it totally unraveled to the point that I'd have to probably knock it down a notch or a half a notch just because this could have been I still plan to own this. I still want to watch it again. But I was so disappointed that they were up. And then the third act comes and they totally lose it.
I agree. So going back, if you think about it, we talked about Starship Troopers before and how it had a disappointing third act. I think actually you unlocked a feeling within me, and I totally agree with you. There's something about the ending that I just didn't like. Couldn't put my finger on it. It was that disappointment. That disappointing feeling and a bad ending, and I totally 100% agree with you. Yes.
And the thing I have to say is that because the script was so clever and funny, it really disappointed me that it's almost like, how are we going to end it?
Yeah.
And I just wish they concentrated on that ending a little more, because this could have been this could have been higher cult, up there with great rock and roll parody movies like Rocky Horror Picture Show, Phantom of the Paradise. I'm not saying it's not up there. I can't believe it lost. It's like it dropped. I don't do sports analogies, but it's like they were running to the finish line and they dropped the ball in a way where it bounces and hits 9 of the other players.
First of all, I like how when you say great cult, you mentioned Rocky Horror Picture Show.
Yeah.
Not a great cult movie. You know that from my opinion, but I totally 100% agree with you. It had. I'm trying to put this in a way again where I don't spoil anything. It had an option to go somewhere, and it went the completely opposite way. As if, like you said, they were like, how do we end our movie? What do we do here? So I'm disappointed.
And it's not that it didn't have the time. This movie clocks under 90 minutes, so they had time to have an extra 10 minutes even added to it and stuff. So. Unfortunately, that was my big problem with this movie, is how close it came to being almost like a really just amazing film. And don't get me wrong, I still really like this, and I would still recommend it to people.
I would have recommended it to people until Moby showed up.
Oh my god.
But because of Moby and because I didn't really like most of the songs in the movie, I have to give this a 3.5. I would have given it a 4.5 till Moby showed up, but that guy just sucks so much.
He shows up fairly early.
He sucks so much, and he sucked me right out of the video because he sucks. There's your one reference of the movie title.
Do you get money every time you say suck?
Suck. Take a shot. Sucks. Moby sucks. But the movie does not suck. 3.5. I would probably watch it again for fun, but it has some problems. That, I couldn't quite put my finger on it, but that totally, again, brings it down a little bit because I was disappointed. There's that disappointment feeling coming up. So 3.5. 3.5.
All right, I'm so torn, but because I liked most of the movie, and
I thought you were going to say because
soundtrack,
I liked Moby for a second.
No.
I was going to literally leave, and this time it wouldn't have been a joke.
Because I liked most of the movie, could we not throw... Moby gets more promotion from this than ever.
No, he doesn't.
Yes.
Because people like me, and they like my opinions, and they tend to side with me on this. Moby sucks.
Anyhow, my fans are waiting with bated breath at my... Anyhow, I am going to give it a 4 because I think it almost got to really great cult level, and I think the majority of it is solid. So I'm going to be very good and give it a 4 because, as I said, I would have gone a 4.5 if it wasn't for that unraveling. And but yeah, I gotta drop it to 4. But 4 out of 5 is amazing.
Yeah, it's pretty good. And you know what else has been pretty good? In fact, it's been fantastic, has been your participation all throughout July. We could not literally have done this without you. Your suggestions, we got a whole bunch of them from a whole range of different people. We actually even picked up a whole bunch of new subscribers in July alone, and we are so very thankful that not only did you want us to review your movies, but you wanted to continue watching us review as well. We actually had a discussion. Don't stop submitting those recommendations because you never know. We could pull it out and say, hey, you know what? Thanks so much for suggesting that. So stick with us. We definitely are going to do this again next year. We've had a huge amount of fun. And again, thank you so very much for being with us and being a fan of the show. We truly appreciate it. That's our review of Suck, and that was Fan Appreciation Month. Check the links below. You got podcasts, you got Facebook, Twitter. I think I might have mentioned Instagram. We don't have that yet, but keep on the lookout. I might get into that for you guys.
The podcast as well?
I said the podcast.
Okay.
Okay, there goes my feng shui.
We're on iTunes.
Done.
Did you mention iTunes?
Yes, I did. This is a part of the
All
podcast.
right, yeah. Thank you, Stephanie. I'll shut up now.
Thank you, Stephanie, very much. And thank everybody else. We hope you stick around for more because next week we're back at it again. Your two favorite reviewers arguing about something insignificant. Stay tuned.
If you're gonna rock, you gotta suck.
We're vampires.
I'd like to thank our sponsors, Sex, Drugs, and Rock and Roll.
And you know what? Another thing about Moby. That